Good morning and welcome to Sunday School. Today's a very special day, and today is Constance and my 58th wedding anniversary. And I want to, first of all, we're in tarot couples. She's the goddess of justice and balance. And I'm a fool. Well, I'll be dancing toward her there. Actually, the fool and the justice, goddess of the justice card, are really boyfriend and girlfriend. He's the zero that's out. He's the zero that's out of the sequence of numbers, and she's the number that's right in the middle. And so both are sort of stationary. Not only that, but in my life, she's my priestess. And let's see here. Oh, she's my priestess, and I'm the magician. And she's the empress to my emperor. Now, I don't know about the other cards, but these two are actually the faces and heads are from photographs of both of us in our younger days. So, can I hear an ah? Anyway, yes, 58 years. I know many of you, perhaps most of you, weren't even alive when we were married. I'm going to share a couple of things that I've written over the years, and I've shared with you over the years too, that I sort of find amusing. It was on November 9th, 1967. Constance had come out to California from Nebraska, and we'd been living together since June 15th. Now, in that time, we always intended to get married and everything, and we went and got our license, and in those days it included a blood test, and I needed permission because I was 18, okay, and well, let's see. Actually, when we got the license, I was still 17, so I needed my mother's signature to co-sign on it. I turned 18 in July of that year. So we had our paperwork in order, okay, and we were living in my college days apartment in squalid my squalid near the school. It was formerly a sleazy motel back in the day. But anyway, now I went to school with a man. His name was Ed Young. I don't know if Ed is still alive or not, but Ed Young was a stage hypnotist. Okay, and we were both studying. Oh, I don't know what class we shared. Political science, I think. but he was a professional stage magician. But his father was a superstar and stage magician, uh, Vegas, famous guy, and I forget what his first name was, but it was also Young. And so he was an interesting guy, and I had met him even before Constance came out in June. I'd met him at school, and we struck up a friendship because he was a good source of LSD. So one day at school, Constance was out, and it was probably late October or early November. Uh, he said, "Hey, my dad just opened up a foundation, a tax-exempt religious organization uh, called the Foundation of the Open Mind." And he says, "And now I've got clerical credentials. Yeah, I can marry people." Well, even at the time, in California, if the bride and groom say, "I'm the same religion as this guy who's going to volunteer to marry me," you can more or less sign off the paperwork. But this really meant that it was truly kosher. And I said, "Hey, will you marry Constance and me?" And he said, "Sure." And we set a date within just like 5 days, I think, and November 9th, obviously. And so Constance and I got our mystical literature at the time, which was pretty sparse, but we had the prophet, Gibran's the prophet, and we had gems of Buddhist wisdom and gems of Hindu wisdom, and a couple other romantic poems of some kind, and we pieced together a wedding ceremony. And our wedding ceremony contained no promises to each other. We just statement of facts about love. Okay. And there was no vows, no anything. So we wrote up a really quick marriage ceremony, and we invited a few friends. Now I had some musician friends, Charles D. Harris and Joe Wilson. And before Constance came out, we played in a few saloons in Orange County there, and we invited them. Now this is before Charlie D and Milo even. Okay, this is before our recording. Charlie and I would eventually be bona fide recording artists for a while, but this is before that. And he and Joe Wilson, who would be our guitar player in Charlie D and Milo years later, they showed up. And Joe had just written a song, and they played that song. The song was called Anne, and Charlie and I, and we recorded it once the band got its contract with CBS or Epic. Anne was on the album. It's really a beautiful song. They sang, and my brother and his wife, we did it in their apartment or duplex in Costa Mesa. We did it in their living room. Now they had just recently met back in June, on June 23rd. They had been at an anti-war demonstration and my brother was beaten up, terribly bloodied in what was at the time the biggest police. Literally, they called it a police riot in American history. Many people injured. Somebody died even. Oh, you can read all about it. It's the June 23rd Century Plaza Hotel massacre. But he met some nice, peaceful Quaker couple, Ron and Nancy. And uh, so there was my brother and his wife. Ron and Nancy came, and uh, Ron taught at the university, the new University of California at Irvine, and Nancy was a midwife, and they're Quakers, okay, peaceniks, and they had a bunch of kids, four kids, but they didn't bring them to the wedding, but they brought somebody that they were babysitting, a toddler, a neighbor, toddler child of a neighbors of them. So there was Constance and me, Charlie D and Joe Wilson providing the music, uh, Ron and Nancy and their toddler, and Mark and Margaret, Mark and his wife Margaret, and Ed Young. And Constance was in a beautiful little pink dress that she can still fit in it if it was still here. And I was barefoot and in shorts. It's November after all. Sort of khaki shorts and a maroon short sleeve sweatshirt and barefoot, of course. And that was our wedding. Now, Constance and I had in our little apartment had I think a 20-gallon aquarium because I love tropical fish and I had tropical fish. And it was sort of the centerpiece of our funky little living room there at that apartment. And shortly after we got married, the power went out in our little apartment complex, and it went out for a couple of days. That's how funky things were. And the heater in our aquarium, of course, couldn't turn on, and my fish got chilled and were dying. And somehow this emergency news got back to Ron and Nancy in Irvine, and they said, "We've got a big house here in Irvine. Come live with us and teach us how to be hippies." And that's exactly what they said. Come and teach us how to be hippies. Teach us how to smoke marijuana. Teach us how to take acid. I'm not exaggerating, okay? And we said, sure. And I just stopped going to college. We moved in with Ron and Nancy. And just a few months later, we all dropped out. Ron from his job, Nancy from her job. And we moved to Southern Oregon with my brother and his wife to be full-time hippies. And that 6 months we spent in Southern Oregon, we bought property. That's a whole adventure story of its own. But that's Constance and I's honeymoon with no electricity. We had lived in a little one-room jewel box cabin because Constance made it a jewel box with Indian tapestries and just very cheap stuff that we bought in Southern California. But it was just absolutely beautiful, and we splurged before we moved and got a big full bed size sheepskin rug, but we used it, and our bed was sleeping bags with that sheepskin on top, and two oil burning lamps and a wood stove. Now, Constance is an excellent cook, but she learned to cook on a wood stove. We bought it at Mr. X's swap shop. And it was paradise looking back on it. And at the time, it was paradise while it was happening. Constance got our little shack. Oh, it had French door windows that opened up that were salvaged from somewhere, and it looked out on this barnyard and like a glen of oh, it was absolutely gorgeous. And we bathed every day in the Illinois River. It's colder shit. Okay. And but she learned to cook. She learned to make bread and everything else. And we had another set of parents that lived in a big barn. Gary and Diane Rossignol and their son Andre, who I think is a Facebook friend. Hi, Andre. And Gary was a psychic, highly psychic guy and a follower of Yogananda. But anyway, that was our honeymoon. And we went back to Southern California just long enough for me to sing in a couple saloons and make enough money to build a little second cabin on the quarter acre that we bought there by the Illinois River. And on the night we were to return to Oregon, of course I got a job singing it with Charlie at a saloon. And that's when the producers from CBS came in to celebrate their second gold record in 90 days. And they got so drunk that we sounded good and they signed us to a contract with CBS. We never went back to Oregon. But we went on to have other adventures. And here we are. You probably saw Constance just walking past me back there. We still live pretty simply. We don't have a wood stove, but Constance wishes we did. She still hangs the laundry out in the sun on a clothesline. We still drive a 35-year-old Volkswagen bus, blue too. Not much has changed, and everything has changed. But anyway, I was on acid when I proposed to her over the telephone. After my brother and I took a lot of acid before the sun came up, we went to Joshua Tree and sat on a rock and watched the sun come up as we came on. Went back to Costa Mesa, and that day when we finally could drive again, but I was still frying, and we were sitting in a bar, and I realized from out of nowhere I received a revelation, not a cosmic vision about DNA or the nature of light and time, but a surprisingly normal idea. It became very clear to me that I must marry Constance, my high school sweetheart. That's all there was to it. I converted a few dollar bills into coins. And remember, I'm frying on acid. An act of torturous complexity that seemed to require many days. and I shuffled to the old black payphone near the pinball machine. I closed one eye and plugged the emptiness of zero. It was a dial phone, okay? So there was a zero at the other end. And my finger was like blue-green. And I had to put my finger into zero and spin it because I wasn't capable of actually making a direct call. In those days, you could call the operator if you needed help, and I needed help. So I went zero like that. I plugged the emptiness of zero with my blue-green fingertip and spun the clicking wheel of fortune. I pleaded with the operator to help me place a call to Nebraska. Constance answered. This was February 27th, 1967. After a few moments of attempting to communicate with my hands, I managed to identify myself. She sounded very happy to hear from me. After all, it was her birthday. I couldn't believe the cosmic coincidence, but concealed the fact that I didn't have a clue it was her birthday. I then came out and said it. Would you like to get married? It was the smartest thing I would ever do. After a short pause, she said yes. It was the stupidest thing she had ever done. We've been married for 58 years. In Ask Babylon, I answer somebody's question about marriage, magicians being married and things like that, especially thelemic magicians who are seldom engaged in a exclusive relationship with another individual, and if they are, it's not because of the doctrine of any religion or anything else. Oh, by the way, the Diane Rossignol, our Tequilma, Oregon mother that helped Constance and I, she and Gary, gave Indian names to everyone. Okay. And Constance was Smiling Squirrel. She calls Constance Smiling Squirrel. And she called me Sleeping Bear. And this is Constance's anniversary card to me this morning. Okay. Are you knocking at my door?
What?
Are you knocking at my door?
No, dear, I'm on my hands and knees with a dustpan.
She's on her hands and knees with a dustpan.
Because I cleaned
I was
up.
just showing everybody.
Oh, Sleeping Bear. There's a picture of Sleeping Bear awake.
Okay. This is from my letter back to somebody, and this is what I'll close with, because I'm sure I'm boring you to death with this this morning. And while we're speaking of marriage and monogamy and all that, Babylon has for a number of years been legally empowered to marry couples. Yeah, I have even more bona fide credentials than Ed Young had when he married us. This is something he really enjoys doing, especially for friends. Once upon a time, a young man and woman came to the home of Babylon and St. Constance and said something like, Now, this is kind of a fantasy retelling of this story. Babylon, we are in love and have come to ask you to marry us. But even in our joy, we have fears. All around us, we see sadness and strife of unhappy couples. Most marriages today end in bitter divorce. The newspapers are filled with terrible tales of jealous lovers who beat and kill one another. We read that more pregnant women are murdered by the fathers of their children than die of any other cause. These atrocities committed in the name of love make us reticent to take the marriage vows. Okay. What is the secret of your love? What wisdom can you share with us at the beginning of our journey together? What must we do to be happy as Babylon and St. Constance? Now, she's sitting over here. Did you want...
Because you started to speak for me, so I saw I'd come into the room.
Here, I'll get up. And would you like the microphone?
No.
Okay.
Maybe later. I was enjoying it. I need to sit for a second.
Okay.
I've been cleaning the bedroom.
You've been on your knees.
Well, I clean the bedroom on Sundays, and I'm also doing laundry and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, the usual.
Babylon adjusted his turban and looked to St. Constance as if silently asking permission to speak.
Are you reading that?
Yeah. Eventually, he cleared his throat and said, "My friends, I must tell you, you will never make one another happy." Then he reached for his guitar, and as everyone feared, he began to sing. So you're in love and want to wed, but see most marriages end up dead. To Babylon you've voiced your fears. Yes, we've been married 58 years. St. Constance is the perfect wife, brings love and beauty to my life. And as husbands go, I'm not so bad, and we've both done well as mom and dad. Our marriage endures for years and years through ups and downs and fits and fears because we've learned and now confessed love is bigger than happiness. Vital to love as happiness is, hers must be hers and his must be his. The old cliche is worn and sappy, but only you can make you happy. So I say to the would-be mated, communication is overrated. Probe not too deep each other's head. Contempt is born when mystery's dead. Monogamy is not for everyone. It has its pros, it has its cons. But once you've pledged to that relation, try to be good at it for the duration. Be not too quick to throw in the towel. Don't stray, don't cruise, don't sneak, don't prowl. Chances are good if you're miserable here, in no time at all, you'll be miserable there. So remember my words through the pain and stress. Love is bigger than happiness. I bless you both and wish you luck. I'll marry you now for $100. A few years back, I had the honor of officiating at the wedding ceremony of our son, Jean-Paul, and his lovely bride, Miwa. I happily imparted to them the secret that I believe is the key to a long and relatively happy marriage, at least what has worked for Constance and me. And here's another little poem, The Secret of Marriage. And I often say this when I marry other people too. This is part of the, yeah. When two strong souls and two strong wills and two strong minds unite, there will come rounds when standing your grounds will turn into a fight. So here and now, before reciting your vows and while you're high as a kite, agree that one of you will know everything and the other will always be right. This compromise is very wise. You'll need it day and night. It's an understanding that's not demanding. It's unbreakable. Try as you might. So leave behind the undefined and step boldly into the light where one of you knows everything and the other is always right. Now, do you have anything to add on our 58th wedding anniversary? And here's the microphone. So yeah.
Do I have to stand up?
No, you don't have to stand up. I'll point it your way.
Don't make any promises when you get married. This vow stuff is like, I don't know what that means.
Well, this was for a marriage ceremony, yes.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And most normal people have write vows.
I think happiness and love are connected. So I'm kind of, if you're miserable, you're not going to feel much. That means you're not feeling love. So I'm sorry, or you're not giving or receiving it. But I think an important thing is to remember who you are and what you are, and however you want to put it. You're a spark of the divine. You're a child of God. You're a ray of the sun. You are connected to the source, whatever, emanation from the source. Remember who you are and that you're bornless and deathless and eternal. Oh God, you have to remember that when you're married, because you have to realize that nothing and no one and no situation, especially your mate, but can ever really hurt you. If you remember that, the happiness and love will probably, work itself out.
Okay.
And that's pretty hard to think, I'm not, that's not the easiest thing to do, but nothing can really ever hurt you. You, the real you.
Okay. Well, we got a special treat today. This isn't even Parking Lot Tuesday.
No, I've parked here because I'm tired of cleaning. And I enjoyed the rest of the show. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's it. That's it for that's for Sunday school today. And Constance is the empress and the high priestess, but most of all, she's the goddess justice.
Where everybody wins.
Where everybody wins. That's justice. Okay, until tomorrow for the order of Monday morning. Hopefully there'll be one. Until then, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Love is the law. Love under will.
See you tomorrow.